In an effort to inform the consumer, I spend time every week researching the hottest search topics in the camera world, and not surprisingly, the fantastic D7500 pops up. I'll spare you a deep dive into the specs, as I'm sure you've already seen them. Rather, in this video, I hope I can be your last stop before making your final decision on whether the Nikon D7500 is the right camera for you. Let's go! I was surprised to find that you can have a Nikon D7500 for less than 600 bucks at KEH.com, who is not a sponsor of this video. They just happen to be my favorite used camera and lens retailer. Before we hash out if it's a good buy for you, I first have to figure out exactly why you ended up here in my D7500 video. If this is your first camera ever and you have no idea if you'll even enjoy photography, stop. Don't buy it, or cancel the order you already placed, and I'll invite you to check out this video right here on the Nikon D3500. Enough said. If you're upgrading from another Nikon DSLR, please stick around to the end of the video because I may have some guidance for you before you buy. From now on, I will pretend that it is the case that you already love photography and you're looking to upgrade to the Nikon D7500. Congratulations! There are a lot of benefits to 7000 series cameras. Firstly, they inherit the autofocus system of the mid to high tier full frame Nikon DSLR cameras, which is clearly way better than the D3000 and 5000 series cameras. They are also noticeable improvements in high ISO performance on the 7000 series cameras. My favorite advantage, however, is the fact that the 7000 series cameras offer screw drive autofocus, meaning not only can you use G series lenses, which have autofocus built into the lens, but now you open yourself up to the beautiful world of D series lenses, which are basically my favorite lenses of all time for Nikon f-mount. With the exception of some incredibly expensive G series lenses, I was never a huge fan of that entire line. But the D series, ooh baby, there are some killer lenses that are dirt cheap because nobody wants them. Guys, newer is not always better. If this video gets, say, 200 likes, I'll make an entire video on some of my favorite D series lenses of all time. That is the brilliance of not just the D7500, but the whole 7000 series. Did you know that the D7000 series cameras were once one of the most common Nikon cameras being used for weddings as both primary and secondary cameras? You can do portraits and street photography and landscapes with just about any camera, but when an industry adopts something like the 7000 series did with weddings, you know you're getting something that's good. So if your mind is already made up, go for it, but it's my duty while you're here to deliver another option. Regardless of whether you're buying your first camera and are considering a D7500, or if you're upgrading from, say, a D3000 or 5000, it may be worth considering mirrorless now. Now, this doesn't apply to people who have already tried mirrorless and just prefer the DSLR experience. By all means, ride it until there are no more DSLRs or they get super expensive due to being taken over by hipsters in 20 years. If you don't know or don't have a preference, here's something to take home with you. All of the horror stories that you've heard about mirrorless are outdated and the foreseeable future is mirrorless. All of the brands are now making great cameras for all purposes, use cases, and budgets. With the future being mirrorless, you are more future-proof, making your next camera a mirrorless one. If you're considering a D7500, before you do, one of my favorite Nikon mirrorless cameras is actually the cheapest, the Nikon Z5. The Nikon Z5 can be had in really darn good condition for under 900 bucks. And if that's out of budget, a Nikon Z50, a crop sensor camera like the D7500 with the same megapixels, can be had for under 700 bucks. There's also no disputing that Z-mount lenses, which Z-mount is basically the new F-mount. That's the mirrorless lens mount, if you didn't already know. They're all pretty much amazing, and you can't argue that. While the Nikon Z5 doesn't get a lot of attention on YouTube because it isn't sexy like the Nikon Z9, it will fill 98% of most photographers' needs. If you think it's worth checking out before making your final decision, just search Z-Wade Photo Nikon Z5 on YouTube and you can check it out. I have a lot of videos on that camera because, like I said, I have a Z9 and I still like the Z5. But for now, stay sharp, YouTube.